Hello.
Hello, Jane.
How are you, Fran?
I'm fine. My goodness, it was a windy day at the dump this morning.
Oh, yeah? How was it?
Windy.
A lot of people out there?
Yeah, it's Sunday morning.
Good.
We were there yesterday, too. There's a lot more people on Sunday.
There you go.
There it is. I see it. I got it.
So, were all the candidates out there pretty much?
Today it was Christy Ferrantella and Mark Donato and me.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right.
So it was nice.
Good.
But, yesterday there wasn't any wind. It was easier.
Yes, I know. Well, we got a little storm coming in, right? A little rain this afternoon.
I think so.
Okay. So, you've been out here for a long time, right?
Well, I'm from here.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
I'm from here, but I was away for a long time.
Yeah, right. What were you doing?
I was at the University of Texas at Austin for a little over 31 years.
Gosh. Did you like Austin? I always hear good things about that place.
Austin's a great city.
Yeah.
But if anybody had told me when I was in Nantucket High School that I would spend 3 decades of my life in Texas, I would have just rejected that as ridiculous.
But that is a different Texas, isn't it? Austin, that's what I hear. It's a lot more liberal.
Well, Texas is a very complicated place.
Yeah.
I had no idea when I went there that Central Texas had been settled in the 1800s by people from Poland and Czechoslovakia and Germany.
Interesting.
The first and second oldest Polish parishes in the United States are both in Texas. One is right on the coast and the other is further inland. And I had Czech-American students. There are little German towns. So it's very complicated. One of those towns has the only monument to the Union in the old Confederacy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, they're getting rid of all the monuments now, aren't they? Pretty much? Anything to do with...
Yeah, I don't know that that's happening in Texas.
No.
It seems to be more in Georgia, Alabama, Virginia.
Right. So why are you running for select board?
Well, I don't want to seem like I consider it a legacy, but my Aunt Esther Gibbs was only the second woman ever elected to the board.
She was your aunt?
She's my aunt. And
did she live on...
I'm living in her house now.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So the first woman elected to the board was a Nantucket teacher named Anne Ring, and she was elected in 1926. And it was another 46 years before another woman was elected, and that was my aunt. Since then, there have been 9 more. So my aunt was a real inspiration to me in a lot of ways, and she had her own restaurant business for 35 years, and when she retired and sold the business to my brother, she then
what restaurant?
The North Shore, which is now American Seasons.
Oh yeah, right.
So when she finished up that, she served the town for 2 terms and set a good example. But the other reason is because quite a few people over the time since I retired and came home have asked me to, or at least to consider it, but because of my husband's illness, it wasn't possible.
I see.
So I've done other things. I've served in other ways. Right now I'm a cemetery commissioner.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you about experience. So you're a cemetery commissioner. Mm-hmm.
I have been a consultant for roads and right-of-way.
Okay.
I was chair of the work group a couple of years ago on the future of our island home. And then I've been on 3 different Friends boards. I've been on Friends of the Nantucket Athenaeum, Friends of the African Meeting House when we restored the building, and then currently I'm on the Friends of our island home.
Okay, and we're going to get into some of that too.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Surfside Crossing, what do you think?
Oh, right now it's hard to know what's going to happen because of the last CBA meeting. Everything seemed to blow up. I don't know what's going to happen. I think my expectation was that, well, something is going to be built, but we don't quite know what. Now I just have no idea.
But you don't. What do you think about the density of it as it is now?
Well, I agree that we need to provide housing for that intermediate group of people who need a home, but they don't qualify for subsidized housing, but they really can't afford other housing, and they're often described as young professionals. But what I would do is I would describe everybody from housekeepers and landscapers to town employees as our workforce, and I think we have a critical workforce situation that we absolutely have to make better, and the town is going to have to invest in it, invest substantially. Some people have said to me, well, should the town get into housing? And the answer is the town is in housing. It already is, and we actually are going to have to do more. Now, the condos were kind of a bone of contention because they are dense, but the condos would be a way to provide the, quote, young professional with an opportunity. I think at this point we just have to see what comes out of the negotiations between the ZBA and the developers.
Okay.
Are they going to work something out, or is this going to go into litigation? And litigation is always so expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, I think I got an idea on affordable housing, but how do you feel about the article that Rick and Tobias are putting forward?
It's complicated. They've worked on it very hard. I'm going to support it.
So it's $20 million for those that don't know. The town would be given $20 million to buy existing properties to make them usable for affordable housing.
As rental properties.
As rental properties.
Yeah, I think the concept is excellent. I'm 100% behind repurposing of existing buildings. When Charlie Walters was interviewing the candidates, he made the point that in the not very distant future, all buildable lots will have been built upon. And he said, and then what? So I think that there are real advantages to this plan. One of them is repurposing existing buildings, and another is just the dispersal of them so that they aren't in one dense neighborhood, but they're here, there, and everywhere. And the question was raised in the FinCom meeting about, well, wouldn't that make it difficult to maintain them? But apparently Housing Nantucket has been maintaining quite a few properties already, and they don't actually think it would be difficult to maintain dispersed rental properties.
Okay.
Give them all the benefit of the doubt. We have to try something.
Should we sewer Matticat?
I think we have to sewer every which way for the health of our harbors. Matticat Harbor
Very
is very
expensive.
problematic. I know it is.
Very, very expensive.
I know, and one of the questions yesterday at Meet the Candidates was, well, we are going to have some new revenue sources. How should they be allocated? And on the one hand, the affordable housing people have an eye on some of it, but in the interest of our water quality, I think that the citizens also would like to see new revenue sources going to offset the cost of sewering. You know, with sea level rise, which is...
Yeah, well, this is...
It's not just that it's inevitable, it actually isn't new. It's what made Nantucket an island.
And that is one area that's going to be a problem.
It is.
Right?
And Matticat has always had saltwater intrusion, and I think that it's just going to become more and more difficult.
So why put salt water? Then why put sewer in then? If there's going to be all this intrusion.
Well, the intrusion really has more to do with septic tanks and well water.
Okay.
Sewering would actually help to keep, shall we say, fecal content out of the harbor.
Okay.
We can't hold back the Atlantic Ocean. We'd like to, but we can't. In my opinion, we have to consider what we can forestall and what no human effort whatsoever could possibly forestall. And coastal erosion on the ocean side is just going to happen. Is happening.
Right.
At the Select Board's forum at the very end of January at the Dreamland, when they asked various members of the board what they would like to see 30 years out, 50 years out for Nantucket, Matt Fee said we have to protect downtown from flooding. And I think that the thing that we might have some chance of doing, at least for a while, is harborfront. I don't think we can do much of anything about the ocean, but I think that if we can get good advice from marine engineers, we might be able to do something for 30 years out down the line, 50 years down the line of protecting the harbor front from flooding. My suspicion is that we couldn't do anything to protect downtown from flooding that we would do inside Brant Point. It would have to be something beyond Brant Point and involve the jetties.
I was going to say, look at this. These are $1 million homes. I mean, if we get one really bad storm, real bad, that we've never seen before, what will happen to the value of these places?
Well, this area will be inundated.
This will be.
It has been inundated.
It has, and you bet.
I remember one particular storm where it inundated all the way to the cliff, and the little family had to mark one corner of their house about how high the water was there. And that storm, not only did it flood this whole area to some depth so that people were evacuated by boat, but very cold air came in behind it and it froze.
Right.
People were skating this whole area.
Jeez. Wow, that was a while ago?
It was. It was.
Okay.
But it did a lot of damage, and there are many, many more buildings here now than there were then.
Yeah, really.
The reason that old Nantucketers didn't build here was because they saw the sea quite enough. If you wanted to see the water, you could go and see it. But they didn't build their houses in harm's way.
Right.
I've always felt that if you wanted to have a house with an ocean view on one of the coastal banks, you really should have a beach shack. Something that you could pick up and move when the moment came, and furnished only with things that were not so dear.
Well,
but that's not what's happened.
No. People want to be able to wake up or whatever and see that beautiful Atlantic Ocean and be right up against it.
Well, you can do that from a beach shack,
I agree.
too. But people have made enormous investment,
They have.
and they want to protect their investment.
Sure.
But frankly, I think it was a fool's investment.
Yeah, well, I didn't bring that issue up for a question, but you could talk about Sconset Beach since you're on that subject.
Well,
they want to do 900 feet. They've got 450 or whatever it is, right now. What do you think?
I think you can't hold back the Atlantic Ocean.
So don't let them do it.
I don't think we should let them do it.
What do you do about the 400 that you let them do already?
Well, as Matt Fee said yesterday, when they made the decision to let them do it, it was between geotubes that are removable or hard revetment, and geotubes seemed a better choice because they can be removed.
Right.
And I believe there's an escrow account for doing that.
Okay. So remove them. Because I mean, if you're not going to do the 900, you might as well take out the 400, right?
That may be.
Okay.
I think that the people who are doing it might just say, well, if you want, in fact, I think they have said, if you won't let us do what we want to do, we're going to take our marbles and go home.
Some people would say that by trying this, that we're actually doing something that we're probably going to have to do later on as the sea rises in other areas, and that we are learning from this. This is a learning experience for us.
Everything we do is a learning experience.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's a better learning experience than other times.
Right.
The worst thing we can do is to keep trying to do the same thing over expecting.
But it is their money, so I mean, you can't knock that. I mean, obviously.
There was one thing that surprised me, because Matt Fee said he had only recently learned that not only does the town own the beach below, but in fact the face of the bluff. And the fact of the matter is, back in the 1880s or 1890s, when William Flagg set out his subdivisions, he gave to the proprietors the footpath and the face of the bluff, and the proprietors had already reserved a way on the beach below. So the proprietors, and now the town, actually owns footpath, bluff face, beach. And the question, a complicated legal question, is where erosion has taken out a chunk of the bluff and even taken out some of the footpath, what does the town own now?
Right.
Has the town lost what it owned or not? But I think it's important to start out with knowing that we don't just own the beach. At least we used to own the whole shebang.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, what about the landfill? What should we do out there?
Well, actually we're going to have to negotiate a new contract pretty soon. It seems to me the DPW intends to continue with waste options. It's I think we've always been surprised at how expensive it's gotten. But we're an island, and we generate more and more and more disposable stuff. There's nothing like being at the dump for several hours on a Sunday to see all the stuff that comes in there.
I mean, it boggles my mind. I think we're at a point, Fran, where we have to start thinking we're killing the insects. Insects are dying. Bees are dying. We're throwing plastic into the ocean. It's breaking down. The fish are eating it. We're eating the fish.
I think it's only now that we're becoming aware of the plastic issue.
That's part of it. But everything we buy, we have to start thinking, okay, when I'm done using this, there has to be a place for it to go. And I have to be responsible for where it goes. Right?
Right.
And that's what, it just makes sense.
We haven't, I think, in Nantucket really thought about
because it's profit, it's money. We want the money first, and then we'll talk about but it's going to cost us more at the back end if we don't start doing this now.
But I think we only recently have begun thinking very seriously about how many more people are living here now.
Well, that's Nantucket. I'm talking world.
I mean, this is a world issue.
Yes, it is.
The population doubles and doubles in a way that it didn't used to.
No, that's right.
And Nantucket's population is growing, which, by the way, kind of leads into another thing we were going to talk about. Peter Morrison's projections to 2036 is that the population of Nantucket will grow 13%. Well, that's not terribly alarming, but the population of people over 65 will grow by more than 50%.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to be aware that we need to make provisions now for the fact that we have a growing population and it's going to grow bigger and bigger.
Well, okay, that brings me right to a subject that I think you're well aware of, and that's our island home.
Well, it's not just our island home. It's also the Salt Marsh Senior Center.
Okay.
There are two distinct initiatives. One is for a community center for Nantucketers of all ages, and the other is a replacement for our existing senior center, the Salt Marsh Center. The Salt Marsh Center right now is busting at the seams, and it's a few inches above water level down there on Washington Street. Obviously we need a new, bigger, and better building. So the question really is whether a future senior center will be part of a community center or whether they will be two separate things. And I think part of that really is going to be a matter of what opportunities come up. But when we were invited out to the Nantucket Inn to look at the front building, and they were saying, look at this.
That would have been nice.
They said it will be, a turnkey situation. Just walk in and start using it. There's a pool, and everybody's eyes lit up. And they said we could have a pool that's kept quite a few degrees warmer than the community pool, because the community pool is a little too cold for seniors.
Yeah.
And everybody's eyes lit up. But then that was like a meteor across the sky. One day it was.
I know.
And then it was gone.
What a shame. What a shame that was. Actually, I heard about that, and I was like, that's just great. We could do this. And then the owner just said, basically, the guy that owned it said, no, I'm out. Right? Basically, is that what happened?
Well, I think they just simply didn't sign the necessary document. It's
still for sale. I mean, you never know.
It has multiple owners, is the thing.
Yes, that's right. I heard that.
But when we were there and looking at it, we said, well, this is a lot bigger, and if we had a pool, you'd have to have more staff, because if you have a pool, you can't just have two staff members.
Right.
And so on the spot with the group I was with, I said to people, well, what would you think about combining a Nantucket Community Center with a senior center here? And some people said, well, that's a no-brainer, of course. But there were a couple of other people in the group who said, no, we don't really want our senior center to be part of a community center. We want our senior center. And when I brought that up yesterday, I got a bit of pushback about that. And maybe the people...
I don't understand that.
Well, maybe the people who said it right at that moment, maybe on second thought, they would say, oh no, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I think if you told them what they might be getting as well, with the deal, I think they'd have to turn that could be turned around.
But the fact of the matter is, now that's off the table.
Yeah, that's off the table.
Unless it comes back.
But let's get back to our island home. Okay, very expensive. Should we move it, keep it there? What do you want to do with it, Fran?
I frankly don't think it's that expensive. When you look at the overall budget of the town of Nantucket, deficits and annual deficits have gone up to $4.5 or $5 million, but that was unusual, and it's come back down. If you think about the town investing a couple of $1 million a year in caring for its most fragile elders, the people who no longer can safely live at home, no matter how many services you bring in, I don't think it's that much. Now, right now, the town has invested quite heavily in the existing building. They put on a new roof. They brought the kitchen up to code. They renovated the ends of the wings. They renovated bathrooms. So the town has made a big investment in the current building, and I don't think that's going to come around again real soon.
Okay. So it's fine for a little while. But it does cost us money to operate the place, obviously, a lot of money. Let me ask you this. Are you in favor of universal health care? I mean, obviously you have Medicare. So would you like to see a Medicare for everyone?
Yes.
Wouldn't that make a difference? Wouldn't that be peace of mind? Because wouldn't you think that if there was Medicare for everyone, that nursing homes would be involved and part of that? I think it would.
I mean, right now,
the whole world, the whole country would be responsible for taking care of us from the minute we were born until we die, and we would have peace of mind. We wouldn't have to worry about that stuff, and the town wouldn't have to worry about it.
Well, My husband, as one of his benefits of retirement, had long-term care insurance. It paid for 50% per month of what our island home cost, and I paid the other 50%.
Oh, it only took care of 50%?
And at a certain point, he'd maxed out, reached the maximum, and at that point, I was paying more than $13,000 a month for his care.
Oh my gosh.
And that's, and we were rather privileged because we had insurance.
Wow.
We really could not increase the revenue. Now, there's all kinds of schemes you can use to get people onto mass health. Mm-hmm. But I took the position that our island home depended on those families who were paying private pay. If everybody was on mass health, the town's deficit would be much bigger, much bigger.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about mass health anymore. I'm talking about
No.
scratching all of that
I
and
know.
starting fresh, and figuring it out like other countries have,
Yeah.
and get to where we need to be.
Yeah.
And so we have peace of mind in this country. It's driving people crazy.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is.
not the wealthy because they can afford it, but the people that work for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They need to be taken care of.
That's right.
All right, next question about traffic. How do you feel about traffic? Are we building more than we should before we take care of the roads? Or are we doing it right?
In the strategic plan, one of the things is to try to reduce unnecessary car trips. And at the same time, we have an enormous amount of building going on Old South Road, and we may have a big bunch of building on South Shore Road going on. And they're thinking of counting 1 to 1.5 automobile per bedroom.
Right.
And my first,
I mean, that's the low limit.
and my thought is not just
Well, per
traffic
bedroom,
jams,
yeah.
but air quality from all that exhaust really worries me. So people say, well, we're going to have more and better public transportation. We're going to have smarter routes, and we're going to improve the bike paths. And my thought is, in terms of the bike paths, is nobody's going to bike to work in March in the sleet.
Right. Yeah.
But public transportation can be greatly improved. I spent a year on Oahu at the University of Hawaii.
Oh.
And Oahu is the one island in the state of Hawaii that actually has public transportation. Excellent public transportation.
Yes.
We didn't have a car the year we were there. On the few occasions when we needed one, we rented it for
Right.
a couple of days.
Right.
Whenever we went to one of the other islands, our first stop was car rental. And people on the other islands would say to us almost resentfully, oh, you live on the island with public transportation.
Yeah.
We really, but we've done something else in terms of where people have built. They've not only built big houses on an eroding shore, but we've circled the island with large, expensive summer rental properties. And when people rent one for 2 weeks or a month, they go there with their families for everything they want to do, to go to the beach, to go to the Athenaeum, to go to the Dreamland, whatever. They have to load into a car to do it.
Yeah.
The days of going to the beach by taking your towel and hopping on your bike and going to the beach are done. Nowadays, people need to go with boogie boards and coolers.
Right. That's true.
And so we've permitted this problem ourselves by letting people do that. So instead of having our seasonal residents, for the most part, pretty close in, we've dispersed them to the point where everybody needs not just one car, several cars,
Right.
not just a little car, but an SUV.
Right. So I think I get what you're talking about there. So 2 seats are available.
Yes.
Let's say you take one. Who's your first choice for the other one?
I'm supporting Matt Fee.
Okay.
Matt is so good with the numbers, and I think that even when you disagree, that he listens, and he's got the experience. But on the other hand, as somebody said yesterday after I meet the candidates, they said, "What a great spread of people who are all willing to step up, and everybody is bringing something good."
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like, however the elections go, we're going to end up with a good board.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And is there anything you'd like to say to the voters out there? This is your chance to...
This is my chance.
Sure.
I would really like to serve.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. It's good to see you again.
Yeah. It's been a while since you came over.
I know.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Fran. All the best to you.